So I just wanted to discuss a bit of history with you guys. I'm sure most of you have heard of the ancient city of Babylon. It's in the Bible. You know, it's located in modern day Iraq, and you know, at one point in time, several hundred years BC, it was really the center of the world in many ways, right? I think it had a population of 200,000 at its peak, and you know, the Babylonians, and they this is why we call Mesopotamia, why we call the Middle East the cradle of civilization, right? Babylonians is one of those civilizations that really contributed a lot to humanity. Now, when we talk about colonialism and we talk about imperialism, how they rob the countries they invade, let's take a look at Babylon, right? This is an ancient city, absolutely priceless, and Babylon had a very famous blue gate. So when you would enter the city, there was a blue gate with lions on it, okay? And, I mean, we're talking about one of the seven wonders. Really, right? One of the seven wonders of the world. And do you want to take a guess where that gate is today? Do you think it's in Babylon? In Iraq? No. It's in Germany. It's in Berlin. They literally stole an entire gate. I mean, this is, just to give you an idea how enormous it is. Can you see the people there? Like how tiny they are compared to this? It's incredible. And this is not even the full gate. So this is the smaller part of the gate. The bigger part is so large, it does not even fit into the museum. It's in storage. In storage, right? Like as if it's a car that belongs to the German government. Like yeah, just store it. So you can go, and anyone can go and read this on Wikipedia, just to give you a brief recap. So this German archaeologist, Robert Koldewey, he led the excavation of the site from 1904 to 1914, okay? And they smuggled the entire gate to Germany. So Walter André used his connections with both the German intelligence and with local Iraqi tribal sheikhs to smuggle the remains out of Iraq under the nose of the Ottoman authorities. The gate's ceramic pieces were disassembled according to a numbering system and then packed in straw in coal barrels to disguise them. These barrels were then transported down the Euphrates River to Shat al-Arab, where they were loaded onto German ships and taken to Berlin. I mean, this is really incredible. Absolutely incredible. They stole an entire goddamn gate. I'm speechless. I really am. And do you know where this is? This is in the Pergamon Museum, which is in Berlin. I've been there, and I remember seeing the gate. And something else that really stood out to me was there was an entire wall that they stole from I think it was a palace located in Jordan. They just took an entire wall. And again, it shouldn't surprise you. Like, here's an entire gate. It's not just any gate. It's the gate of bloody Babylon, and it's sitting in Berlin. And here's another thing which they say in the Wikipedia article, right? I mean, look at the arrogance, honestly. So you see that there are a bunch of lions on the gate, right? It's actually a mixture. There are some lions. There's a dragon-like creature, and a bull-like creature, whose name I forgot, but. It says here, one of the processional lions was recently loaned by Berlin's Vorderasiatisches Museum to the British Museum. So you know, the Germans, they decided to loan something that doesn't belong to them to the British. Like, you know, as if it's a car, or it's like, you know, a pair of trousers. Here, yeah, I'll loan it to you. Who the hell said it's yours to loan in the first place? And you know what people will come and say now to try and justify this colonial plundering, this bullshit? They'll say that, yeah, but you know, it's safer in Berlin. It's safer there because if it's in Iraq, well, you know, it would be destroyed. This was stolen from 1904 to 1914. So that's just right before World War I started. You're telling me Berlin went through World War I, World War II, the Cold War, and that's safer than Iraq? Are you high? How is that safer than Iraq? If Berlin could have exploded at any moment, that gate could have been gone at any moment. And if Iraq is not safe, ask yourself why it's not safe. The Iraqi government is not making the archaeological site unsafe. The Iraqi government is not damaging any of its own history. That's you, that's the West, that's the United States and its allies that come and destroy Iraq. Iraq is taking care of its own. Actually, as a matter of fact, Saddam Hussein tried to rebuild Babylon. He tried to rebuild the entire city, right? Which, I mean, say what you like about Saddam Hussein, but in terms of historical value and trying to rebuild an ancient, epic city like that, it's quite a feat. It's quite a feat. And I just want to show you some more pictures of Babylon. So this is the gate that Saddam rebuilt. He rebuilt the Blue Gate in Iraq, right, in Babylon. But it's not the real one, obviously. The real one is gone because the Germans stole it. Yeah, here you can see pictures of it. So that's the one in Iraq. I'm trying to open the full image for you. Yeah. That's the one rebuilt by Saddam. And the real one, sorry, that's the gate rebuilt by Saddam, but the real one is in Berlin. And he obviously didn't finish the project because, well, you know what the United States did. But it's really just disgusting because the Americans, they've damaged the actual site of Babylon. So, I mean, this is just, it angers me. It really makes me angry. Here's an article from CNN. U.S. troops accused of damaging Babylon's ancient wonder. The UN report claims U.S. troops damaged the city of Babylon during Iraq invasion. Right? Camp Alpha was built on site of Iraq's historic Hanging Gardens. The report cites extensive damage to Ishtar's Gate. Ishtar's Gate is this, but this one, of course, is in Berlin, so they're talking about the rebuilt one. The processional way, the United States to pay $800,000 to clean Babylon site. The U.S. military did major damage to the site of one of the wonders of the ancient world while converting it into a base. I mean, just, yeah, how can you look at this and not get angry? Honestly. How can you look at these things and not get angry? Disgusting. Like, this is, you know, throwing pearls to pigs, honestly. This is so pig shit fucking ignorant to do that. They go to the Middle East, they kill our people, they steal our fucking culture because they don't have any, they take it back home, they steal the wealth, everything from A to Z. They even steal people, they even enslaved people, right? Is there anything they didn't steal? Is there anything that the Europeans didn't steal from Africa, from you know, from the Middle East, from the ancient world? Is there anything left that they haven't done? Obviously, you know, buildings are not worth more than people. The real tragedy is the human cost. But this is also important. This is our heritage. Not just as Arabs, it's human heritage. Do you understand? It's the cradle of civilization. Everyone should be pissed about this. There, you know, when Babylon was built, when, you know, Damascus was the center of the, you know, during the Islamic Golden Age, these places were nothing. You know, Europe was a forest. There's nothing there. The United States is nothing there. So to come here and then say like, oh, well, you know, the West is advanced and everyone else is stupid and they're developing. This is bullshit. There was a time when all the culture, the medicine, the science, the literature, all of this was happening in the Middle East, in Baghdad, in Damascus, right? The Arabs contributed a lot to this. Now, of course, the Babylonians, which is before their time, also contributed a lot to civilization, to human civilization. And they just come and shit on it and treat it like a toilet. And then they refuse to give this back. You know, the Germans refuse to give this back, of course. But they have no problem lending it to the British and Jesus Christ. I mean, you want to talk about the British? I don't know how many of you have been to the British Museum or the Louvre. But guess what? Most of the stuff in there doesn't come from the UK. It doesn't come from France. It's stolen. So it really says a lot to you about how these colonizers, they come and they steal literally tooth and nail, right? They steal the rocks out of the ground and take it all back. And then they say that it's safer there. Why isn't it safe in Syria? Why isn't it safe in Middle East? Could it be because you're destroying those countries? How ironic. How ironic. That's like if I come into your house and I take, a painting of your grandfather, and then I bring it to my house and I refuse to give it to you. I steal it, and then I throw a Molotov cocktail at your house and say, well, it's not safe there. Wow. It really angers me, honestly. It really angers me how disrespectful they are. And you remember Trump, what Trump said to Iran? He commits an act of war against Iran. He kills General Soleimani, which is, it's like killing the U.S. Defense Secretary, but even more. He murders General Soleimani. He almost provokes a war with Iran. And then he tells Iran, if you respond, we will bomb your cultural sites. Do you see how disgusting the mentality is? How much disdain, how disrespectful they are. They don't care that Iran has 35 UNESCO World Heritage sites. I was stunned when I read that. I was like, what? I thought Syria was like the star. No, Iran has 35. It's incredible. Persepolis is one of the more well-known ones, but there are many more. And Persepolis is, of course, another ancient city. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'd love to visit that. But do you see how they have no respect? Could you imagine if Syria just dismantled the Capitol or the White House and just said, no, we're going to keep this in storage. It's not yours. We're going to keep this. Or the Statue of Liberty, they just take it and say, no, we're going to keep it in storage. And we put it in our museum. Would you like that? Do you think the Americans would like that? Do you think the British would like it if someone dismantled Marble Arch or Trafalgar Square, Nelson's Column, and just put it in storage? It's so disgusting. It really is. I'm really offended by this. And I think it's nothing to do with being from there. It's the principle. As a human being, this is our collective history. Everyone should be offended by this. This is really disgusting behavior. There's absolutely no reason for any of these things to be held hostage, stolen, and kept in the West. They do not belong there. The Parthenon in Greece, for example, is another example of something the British refused to give back. It's in the British Museum in London. It's from the fresque, at the top of the Parthenon, and a giant chunk of it is in the British Museum. I've seen it. And of course, another thing which I've seen in the British Museum, let me show you. Give me a second. This is from the Assyrians, right? This is in the British Museum. Here. The winged bull, right? Sculpture of a winged bull, Lamassu, from the Assyrian city of Nimrud. 865, 860 BC. So there are at least two of these in the British Museum, if I recall well. They're side by side. And that's also stolen from the Middle East, of course, right? The Assyrians are another civilization around the same time as the Babylonians, if I recall well. I think they didn't like each other very much, just putting it mildly. But again, it's just more stuff that they've stolen. And it's so much. I mean, really, they have them even by sections. There's stuff from the Egyptians, from the Africans, from sub-Saharan Africa. There's stuff from the Assyrians, Babylonians, Sumerians, you name it. You name it. You name the civilization, there's something that has been stolen from them, and it's in the British Museum or the Louvre, and in Berlin or elsewhere. And this is another form of colonialism. You can call it whatever you like. It's just theft. It's just theft. That's what it is. And I'm offended by it and disgusted. And it's really painful also when you see what's happening to Syria, because the same way that they destroyed Iraq, and let me just show you another picture. I mean, this is upsetting. I don't know how you can look at this and not be really offended and upset. This just, a U.S. tank just driving through. I'm speechless. Look how pig shit ignorant and offensive that is. Just destroying history. A fucking tank on, priceless history. And so just like they've done these things in Iraq, they've done this also in Syria, right? So I told you about Tadmor, about Palmyra, which is an ancient city, part of the Silk Road. And ISIS blew up the arch, the gate of Palmyra. And then they were executing people in the amphitheater, in the Roman amphitheater. You know, there was kind of like a picture to show you the contrast. Like under the Syrian government, you know, there was ballet and there were other kinds of performances happening in the amphitheater, and then under ISIS, they're chopping people's heads off. Like that's what they're offering Syria. That's what the West is basically saying. They want to take Syria from that and turn it into just, you know, some savage proxy of theirs. And it's not just Palmyra. There are tons of places that have been destroyed. Aleppo, for example, has I think one of the oldest, if not the oldest, bazaars or souk, and that was burnt. That burnt down. I mean, just another UNESCO World Heritage Site. What a shame, honestly. Let me show you before and after. Yeah, that's heartbreaking. That's before, that's after, just completely destroyed. And then, of course, there's the Umayyad Mosque. I've told you guys before about the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, which is, it's considered the fourth holiest site in Islam. Very, very important. You know, it's kind of like the template for all other mosques in the world. It's a fantastic place. You know, I'm really proud that it's in Syria. And it used to be a temple for the rain god Hadad, and then it was a Roman temple, so a Greek temple, then a Roman temple, then it became a church, then half church, half mosque, and now it's a mosque. Incredible. And that's in Damascus. That one's fine, alhamdulillah, but there is another Umayyad mosque in Aleppo, also in Aleppo, and that one's been destroyed, unfortunately. Look at the difference here. I mean, before and after. You know, now thankfully they're rebuilding it. I'm sorry the picture is not large enough. I can't seem to get it to go up, but I can show you, you know, these are before and afters of Aleppo, and it's really heartbreaking. These are so old, so precious, and it's nothing to do with them just being religious sites. It's also to do with them being, again, like I said, it's human heritage. You know, this belongs to everyone, and we should all care about it. And they just destroy it, you know, through war. They don't care. They don't care. And then they steal. You end up with people who are stealing some of the things either to survive or just because they want to make money. And these artifacts, they end up in other places. They end up in Europe. They end up all over the world, and they're sold on the black market. And then not only are these historical sites destroyed and bombed, but also plundered. They're pillaged. And I think I've seen them reconstructing the Umayyad Mosque in Aleppo. There's also the Crac de Chevalier, which is a Crusader castle. It's a very it's the most well preserved medieval castle in the world. It's also in Syria, and that also took a hit during the war. It's also been damaged, but I've seen them repairing it as well. So anyway, I know this is more historical, but it does have a lot to do with politics. And you know, I try to take a little. I try to tell myself that, you know, these places, all these places that I showed you, they've all been hit in the past with previous wars, and they've all been rebuilt. And I hope that they will be rebuilt again. And then one day, you know, they will regain their value and their strength and their beauty. So I try to tell myself that. But you know, this stuff where, you know, Europeans they just flat out steal. I mean, the arrogance is mind-blowing, really. It's shameless. That's the Ishtar Gate of Babylon. That needs to stop. You know, these need to be sent back to their original countries.